Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. Yesterday, Donald Trump gave a speech at the United Nations, and we're going to cover all of the relevant clips today. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Within the first minute of the speech, Donald Trump complains about the teleprompter not working. Let's watch.
Thank you very much. Very much appreciated. And I don't mind making this speech without a teleprompter because the teleprompter is not working. I feel very happy to be up
He says he'll do the speech without the teleprompter because the teleprompter's not working. Look what happens next.
here with you nevertheless, and that way you speak more from the heart. I can only say that whoever's operating this teleprompter is in big trouble.
Donald Trump pauses because he needs the teleprompter for the speech. That's a long pause.
Hello, Madam First Lady. Thank you very much for being here. And Madam
All right, and the teleprompter starts working. For years, Donald Trump criticized Joe Biden, Barack Obama for using a teleprompter. And now we come to find out that Donald Trump frequently uses a teleprompter, and clearly in this instance, he needs it. That's just the hypocrisy of Donald Trump in front of your eyes. Next clip. Donald Trump doesn't know how to read the room. Let's watch.
4 years of weakness, lawlessness, and radicalism under the last administration delivered our nation into a repeated set of disasters. 1 year ago, our country was in deep trouble, but today, just 8 months into my administration, we are the hottest country anywhere in the world, and there is no other country even close. America is blessed with the strongest economy, the strongest borders, the strongest military, the strongest friendships, and the strongest spirit of any nation on the face of the earth. This is indeed the golden age of America. We are rapidly reversing the economic calamity we inherited from the previous administration, including ruinous price increases and record-setting inflation.
And he goes on for a little bit more after that. What we see here is a domestic speech being given in front of an international audience. Donald Trump is talking about his grievances in his own country when the audience actually wants to hear about the rest of the world. Donald Trump is not reading the room. He is just posing his own grievances. And this is also a theme we see through his entire speech. There's actually no vision for the rest of the world and the United States' place within that vision. All this speech was grievances by Donald Trump. Moving on to the next clip. Donald Trump calls out the Biden administration and their border policies.
The last 4 months, and that's 4 months in a row, the number of illegal aliens admitted and entering our country has been zero. Hard to believe, because if you look back just a year ago, it was millions and millions of people pouring in from all over the world, from prisons, from mental institutions, drug dealers. All over the world they came. They just poured into our country with the ridiculous open border policy of the Biden administration.
Again, he's not reading the room. This is an international audience, and he's delivering domestic grievances. Furthermore, when the President of the United States gets up in front of the world and criticizes their predecessors, that doesn't make us look like a stronger country. It makes us look like an unstable country. Moving on. This next clip, Donald Trump goes after the audience, in this case the United Nations, and he was talking about all of the wars that he thinks he's resolved and took a jab at the UN for not resolving them. He also took a jab at the teleprompter again and the escalator. Let's watch that one.
Prime Minister, and for that matter, no other country has ever done anything close to that. And I did it in just 7 months. It's never happened before. There's never been anything like that. I'm very honored to have done it. It's too bad that I had to do these things instead of the United Nations doing them. And sadly, in all cases, the United Nations did not even try to help in any of them. I ended 7 wars, dealt with the leaders of each and every one of these countries, and never even received a phone call from the United Nations offering to help in finalizing the deal. All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle. If the First Lady wasn't in great shape, she would have fallen. But she's in great shape. We're both in good shape. We both stood. And then a teleprompter that didn't work. These are the 2 things I got from the United Nations, a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter. Thank you very much. And by the way, it's working now. It just went on. Thank you. I think I should just do it the other way. It's easier. Thank you very much. I didn't think of it at the time because I was too...
Okay, so my question is this a stand-up comedy show? Or is this the President of the United States giving a speech at the United Nations? That's a rhetorical question. I'll leave it at that. Okay, here's more of Donald Trump going after the United Nations.
Topic of these wars. But later I realized that the United Nations wasn't there for us. They weren't there. I thought of it really after the fact, not during these negotiations, which were not easy. That being the case, what is the purpose of the United Nations? The UN has such tremendous potential. I've always said it. It has such tremendous, tremendous potential, but it's not even coming close to living up to that potential. For the most part, at least for now, all they seem to do is write a really strongly worded letter and then never follow that letter up. It's empty words, and empty words don't solve war. The only thing that solves war and wars is action. Now, after ending all of these wars and also earlier negotiating the Abraham...
A quick, very succinct history lesson. The United States helped set up the UN. The United Nations headquarters is in New York City. This is Donald Trump questioning what the purpose of the United Nations is. The United Nations came after the Second World War, and it was part of the order that the United States helped set up after the war. In this next clip, Donald Trump tells the United Nations that he should get the Nobel Peace Prize.
Received no credit, never receives credit. Everyone says that I should get the Nobel Peace Prize for each one of these achievements.
Remember, when Donald Trump says that everyone says something, that means that he believes that something must happen. In this case, he believes that he should get the Nobel Peace Prize.
But for me, the real prize will be the sons and daughters who live to grow up with their mothers and fathers, because millions of people are no longer being killed in endless and unglorious wars.
And also, with regards to the Nobel Peace Prize, this is the president that just renamed the Department of Defense to the Department of War, and he is sending national assets to the coast of Venezuela. Definitely not a peaceful president by any means. Next clip, Donald Trump talks about himself in the third person.
Ago, a very successful real estate developer in New York, known as Donald J. Trump, I bid on the renovation and rebuilding of this very United Nations complex.
Also, this is more of Donald Trump's grievances.
I remember it so well. I said at the time that I would do it for $500 million, rebuilding everything. would be beautiful. I used to talk about, I'm going to give you marble floors. They're going to give you terrazzo. I'm going to give you the best of everything. You're going to have mahogany walls. They're going to give you plastic. But they decided to go in another direction, which was much more expensive at the time, and which actually produced a far inferior product. And I realized that they did not know what they were doing when it came to construction, and that their building concepts were so wrong, and the product that they were proposing to build was so bad and so costly. It was going to cost them a fortune. And I said, and wait till you see the overruns. Well, I turned out to be right. They had massive cost overruns and spent between $2 and $4 billion on the building and did not even get the marble floors that I promised them. You walk on terrazzo. Do you notice that? As far as I'm concerned, frankly, looking at the building and getting stuck on the escalator, they still haven't finished the job. They still haven't finished. That was years ago. The project was so corrupt that Congress actually asked me to testify before them on the tremendous waste of money, because it turned out that they had no idea what it was, but they knew it was anywhere between $2 and $4 billion as opposed to $500 million with a guarantee. But they had no idea, and I said it cost much more than $5 billion. Unfortunately, many things in the United Nations are happening just like that, but on an even much bigger scale, much, much bigger. Very sad to see. Whether the
Folks, this has nothing to do with international relations. Donald Trump is complaining about something that happened 20 years ago with his company's bid for a contract at the United Nations. Has nothing to do with his presidential duties or anything that's happening around the world today. This was a waste of time for the United Nations, the US, and the world. In this next clip, Trump admits that he was wrong about Putin.
Ukraine, I thought that would be, of the 7 wars that I stopped, I thought that would be the easiest because of my relationship with President Putin, which had always been a good one.
He thought that ending the war in Ukraine would be easy because of his relationship with Vladimir Putin. Translation: I was wrong. Putin tricked me, and now I'm trying to get on the right side of history. Continuing on.
I thought that was going to be the easiest one, but you know, in war, you never know what's going to happen. There are always lots of surprises, both good and bad. Everyone thought Russia would win this war in 3 days, but it didn't work out that way. It was supposed to be just a quick little skirmish. It's not making Russia look good. It's making them look bad. No matter what happens from...
And Donald Trump does it again where he says everyone thought this war would be over in 3 days. Translation: Donald Trump thought this war would be over in 3 days and he wouldn't have to deal with it by the time he became president. So he could just blame this on Biden and not deal with it. In this next clip, Donald Trump criticizes the same diversity that the United States has celebrated for decades.
Their countries and paid for by the people of that nation that were there and that built that particular nation at the time. They put their blood, sweat, tears, money into that country, and now they're being ruined. Proud nations must be allowed to protect their communities and prevent their societies from being overwhelmed by people they have never seen before, with different customs, religions, with different everything.
We all, for the most part, I'm a millennial, we grew up hearing that the United States is a melting pot, and we celebrated the fact that we could get people from different backgrounds and religions to come together and perform as one team. That's why it's called the United States of America. We have a long history of immigration and integration of immigrants into our country. Donald Trump is criticizing that idea in front of the world. This is an un-American statement, to be frank. Last clip here, Donald Trump says that he was right about everything.
Global warming will kill the world, but then it started getting cooler, so now they could just call it climate change, because that way they can't weakness. It's climate change. Because if it goes higher or lower, whatever the hell happens, there's climate change. It's the greatest con job ever perpetrated on the world, in my opinion. Climate change, no matter what happens, you're involved in that. No more global warming, no more global cooling. All of these predictions made by the United Nations and many others, often for bad reasons, were wrong. They were made by stupid people that have cost their countries fortunes and given those same countries no chance for success. If you don't get away from this green scam, your country is going to fail. And I'm really good at predicting things, you know. They actually said during the campaign they had a hat, the best-selling hat. Trump was right about everything. And I don't say that in a braggadocious way, but it's true. I've been right about everything.
Number one, Trump is wrong about his claim about climate change. Climate change is a real phenomenon and not a scam. Number two, Trump hasn't been right about everything. Just look at him earlier in this speech about the war in Ukraine. He thought the war would end in 3 days and he thought it would be easy because of his relationship with Putin, and it's turning out to not be that way. He was wrong, and he's been wrong about many other things. Either way, that's the end of our show today, and I will see everyone next week. Have a great rest of your day.